before television became so very, very big, minor league baseball in a lot of those towns was, that was it for the summer months.
Join Bob Euchre, Paul Molitor, the great Hambino, and an ultimate fan to explore the uneasy relationship between small-town ball and big-time money. Meet the players, learn about living in the bush leagues, and look at the economic and cultural forces that are changing where they play and what we see. The New Ball Game next.
Funding for the New Ball Game was provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the Iowa Arts Council, the National Endowment for the Humanities, and its state partners, the Texas Council for the Humanities, the Illinois Humanities Council, the Wisconsin Humanities Council, and Humanities Iowa.
You know, obsession is a loaded word. Is it obsession to, on a whim, drive 437 miles to watch a minor league baseball game, since I was in the neighborhood? Is it obsession to collect 100 minor league baseball caps from 100 different parks? Or to plan my life around the local team's season? No. Nude sunbathing at Cannes sounds fine, Yvette. It's just there's a doubleheader and it's popcorn night. Is that obsession?
Yes.
Okay.
Top of the order for the Colonels in the bottom of the third. We're down by 4. Brian Seaver struck out in the first against lefty Tommy Marks. Great to have you with us, Tim.
The batter digs in with his back foot. That's his left foot now. Squares up in the box, facing Acevedo.
Al derecho, ahí está Cristian Arventa. Viene el tiro para la inicial. Viene el corredor y doble play.
In a lot of places, talking baseball means talking money and politics. Increasingly, voters are being asked to decide the worth of sports. That's what's happening in my hometown, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And that got me thinking, what does it mean to have a minor league baseball team? What does it mean to our economy? Our image,
stay in touch with me.
our identity as a community. Finding those answers will mean going to a lot of games. In a lot of places. But that's a sacrifice I'm prepared to make.
I'm one of those guys who prefers the minor league game and prefers, what you lose in the quality of the game you make up for in proximity and intimacy and enthusiasm. It feels like community.
If you hit a home run, you got a free home run breakfast at Watson's Cafe. I'll never forget that. If you hit a home run, they pass the hat in the stands for you. And you'd come out sometimes, maybe $100, which was big-time money at that time.
The minors are a place to make mistakes and to learn from them.
Last words I said to him, don't let the second baseman tag you on a grounder. Guess what happened?
Secure the ball and I tag with the back of my glove. As I tag, I spin, I come out, ready to throw the batter runner.
To grow in skills, to mature both physically and emotionally. To adjust to the grind of playing every day, everywhere, for 6 months. To learn to be a major leaguer. a pipe dream for most. Off the diamond, competition for the right to field a team has turned just as fierce. With few exceptions, the rocky road to the major leagues, even for the best players, runs right through the minors. Each farm system works like a ladder. There's no exact progression up or down. For every spot on a major league roster, there are 6 to 8 guys in the farm system jockeying to replace the guy who has it now. And of all the hopefuls who sign a pro contract, only 1 in 10 gets to put on a big league uniform, even for one game. Is there a future big leaguer here? A legend in the making? Part of the fun of being a fan at this level is guessing who it might be. He might be here, Burlington, Iowa, a town of 27,000 on the Mississippi River, and one of the smallest markets to have a full-season pro team. The Bees are a White Sox affiliate in the Midwest League, one of the lower levels of pro ball. The league is ground zero for the clash of ways that threatens the game in places like this.
Two down here. There's the pitch, there's the right-handed batting.
These are my people, the true blue fans.
What's it called being die-hard?
Like many towns, Burlington has a booster club that welcomes players and helps them settle into the community.
What we tried to do in Burlington was connect families with players of the same interests, give them some insight as far as where to live, and help them to get furniture, any needs that they have. We have players that are right from high school, so they need a family, and if by chance they get to the major leagues, we helped.
Burlington's population could fit into Yankee Stadium twice. I've been coming here since '83, and it still amazes me that such a small park leads to the big leagues. But it does.
When you have 4 minor league players staying in your house, you know it's going to be kind of a different summer, but I think that they enjoyed having people around. They realized that we were young and nights we weren't going to come home till 2 in the morning, and our schedules were erratic and we were taking road trips. But their house was our house, and they really added to the enjoyment of the summer.
Major league organizations prefer that their players be helped by local boosters. Just ask a former Clinton, Iowa pitcher. In 1999, Dave Stewart helped oversee the Toronto farm system as the team's assistant general manager.
A lot of times kids now, because the game is different, they become a little bit stale on the game if they're playing it all the time. So when you have other activities, other outlets, it doesn't seem like this is so much of a job.
And a lot of guys married people from minor league cities and stayed there and raised families and went on to live really nice lives by living in that minor league city.
A first-year player in the Midwest League makes $850 a month, though a chosen few top draft picks get $3 million just to sign their contracts. Most players have to find other jobs in the offseason.
Right there. Fashion police.
Officers, please. I'm late for a date.
Russ Kohler didn't get much of a signing bonus. He pitches for the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers, a Seattle farm club in Appleton, Wisconsin. We didn't get to see Russ in action. He spent much of his career so far on the disabled list.
Hi.
We're broke. All the time we're broke. None of us have money. We're all living paycheck to paycheck. And if it weren't for people like Stan who could put us up in houses, we wouldn't be able to play anymore.
Russ and his wife Heather live in Stan Bayman's spare bedroom, but have to buy their own food.
triple coupon day.
Sure,
and,
but we have to make a project out of it. It's a whole day
Yeah,
event. I mean, because you have to bounce from store to store because one son is cheaper than the other one. Take a brand like a chili brand. You don't have to get Dinty Moore or Nally's. You can get an off-brand, but there's other things like macaroni and cheese where you can't veer off. We can eat for 3 or 4 meals off of what we bought today for $5, and you have to learn how to do that, or else you're not going to make it. We know that the odds are against us, but to be able to be that old man that sits around and bore the crud out of all your friends about all those stories about all those podunk towns and crummy hotels and roach motels and bad food and crummy bus trips, I wouldn't take it back for the world.
The dream's been a constant for more than a century. For about as long as the major leagues have fielded teams, the minor leagues have developed the talent. The relationship between the majors and minors has swung like a pendulum. In the early 1900s, Bush League teams were independent. They paid their own expenses and sold their best players to the highest big league bidder. Today's farm system began to evolve in the 1920s when the majors took over.
It's a marriage, and obviously the biggest thing they bring to the table is the team. I mean, that pure and simple. What we bring to the table is the city and the facility to play in.
If you want to go back into the 40s or the 50s, a lot of towns, before television became so very, very big, minor league baseball in a lot of those towns was, that was it for the summer months.
Then, television brought big league games to America's living rooms. Air conditioning made it comfortable to stay there. Recreational options multiplied. Teams folded. So did entire leagues. The result created a backwater of mom-and-pop teams, kept alive by major league subsidies and run as a community service, largely by volunteers.
I guess I'll have a pork chop.
You want barbecue sauce or naked?
Naked.
Pork chop naked?
Jerry Klinkowitz helped operate the Diamonds of Waterloo, Iowa, one of Burlington's Midwest League rivals, and he wrote about it.
Back in the old days of minor league baseball, a franchise, that piece of paper wasn't worth anything. In the 1960s, early 1970s, you could have one simply for assuming liabilities for indebtedness. And that's what our group had done before I joined it. It meant absolutely everything. It anchored my summer. It really was family.
And a family affair for Jerry's children.
This silver paint was put on by my kids when they were all about 12, 13 years old. We put the silver paint on and it's lasted about 15 years.
The temper of the times, Vietnam, people were not doing traditional things. Baseball, apple pie, and motherhood were not held in the highest esteem.
Burlington remains a community-owned team. So does Cedar Rapids.
Programs, $2! $2 programs!
My Colonels, as in corn kernels, play here. Have done so under various names since 1891. The Colonels are an affiliate of the Anaheim Angels and are also in the Midwest League. The summer will bring fine weather and in many places elbow-to-elbow crowds. But for now, we purists have the park to ourselves. Veterans Memorial Stadium, opened in 1949, is my home park. I brought dates here, talked baseball with fellow purists whose names I never learned, helped out from time to time, took pride, still do, that future major leaguers honed their skills here.
None of us have ever taken a dividend or any cash or any money out. If we make money that year, some project is taken on at the ballpark. It isn't where anybody's making any money, it's just for the love of the game.
Baseball started to boom again towards the end of the 70s, and through the 80s was doing quite well. That trickled down to the minors. Minor league baseball suddenly became an attractive item, and in bigger cities, attendance went up. because attendance was going up in the bigger towns. The franchises, which used to be worth nothing or worse than nothing, suddenly became worth something.
Worth millions. They become investments by well-off fans who hope for a financial return. Teams are increasingly divided between haves, large market clubs with miniature major league parks, state-of-the-art nostalgia, and have-nots, small-town teams with quaint but aging fields. As the financial stakes grow, the grassroots clubs are crowded out by bigger cities, which see a team as a prize that helps them look major league.
From 1987, when I first took over as president of the league, the demographics of our franchises have changed immensely. We've gone from very, very small markets to very, very large markets. The small markets, have to try to stay up with it by, a Band-Aid here and a Band-Aid there.
Now I have to give you 1, 2, and 3.
The prosperity of the Miners' flushest franchises did not escape notice of Major League Baseball. In 1990, the big leagues shifted more cost to their farm teams, which had to start paying forms, bats and balls. But within each league, expenses went up by roughly the same amount for each team, no matter how it was doing financially. The change costs a Midwest League team about $40,000 a year.
On a certain key issue, they may look at it from the fact that they can afford whatever is imposed, where I look at it more that it's might be life-threatening to my franchise.
The new agreement with the majors also forced higher standards for ballparks, on the field, in the locker room, and in the stands. In 1998, more than 35 million fans saw the teams affiliated with major league clubs. The only higher totals came just after World War II, when there were twice as many teams. Now that the Bush League backwater had become a trendy neighborhood, some cities could no longer afford to live there. Burlington, Waterloo, and Cedar Rapids were in trouble. At the same time that money came into the game, people left some of its traditional Midwestern outposts. Young folks have always fled small towns for the city, but the wave of farm troubles during the 1980s heightened that trend. As a regional trading center, when farmers sneeze, Burlington catches a cold. Low crop prices or bad growing weather can affect the ability of a car dealership in Burlington to buy a billboard at the ballpark. Rural America has gotten grayer as young people have left. When older folks go to the ballpark, they spend less money. The dream demographics are well-off young families who have migrated to the growing edge cities that ring urban centers. Their baseball teams have followed. To survive, clubs are being forced to change the way they've done business for decades. But the biggest fans could be their team's own worst enemies.
In the old days, we had competitions to sell season tickets, and whoever sold the most season tickets would get a side of beef. So people kept their contacts secret. And we'd have an old member who'd had so much beef that he had cholesterol, up to the earlobes. He'd die, and his list of season ticket holders would die with him, and we'd lose those people.
Back in Cedar Rapids, the bar was raised for my Colonels, too. Colonels officials felt pressure to keep up with newcomers like Dayton, Ohio, which drew more than 500,000 fans in 2000 in a fancy new playing palace, while Cedar Rapids is still trying to reach 150,000. The 50-year-old vet was showing its age. According to the Colonels, Cedar Rapids needs a new ballpark. Well, excuse us for having 50 years of history. The ballpark idea was grouped with 8 other proposed civic improvement projects to be voted upon in June 1998. The proposition, a 1-cent local option sales tax to pay for them. If approved, the tax would provide $8 million of the $14 million stadium cost. State and federal grants helped pay for new facilities elsewhere. When decided at a ballot box, a park usually strikes out. As in most cities, supporters in Cedar Rapids included the Chamber of Commerce and other civic leaders, while a grassroots group opposed to new spending sprang up. A couple of weeks before the election, the colonels rallied the faithful. Staff and volunteers led tours of the vet to point out its deficiencies.
Our next problem is meeting the new ADA requirements. Our ramps are too steep. Access to our skyboxes is dangerous, even for the sure-footed. And our restrooms are severely outdated and inadequate to meet all our fans' needs.
They made it work here. In 1993, Appleton, Wisconsin was in danger of losing its team due to the new standards imposed by the majors. The Foxes, community-owned like My Colonels, could not dip into an investor's pockets. They set about a total makeover. They changed their name with the help of a marketing firm and a kids' focus group to the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers, broadening their image to reach beyond Appleton. And 2 local business leaders led the campaign for a new stadium.
A community is made up of much more than just people and houses. We have minor league baseball, we have good theater, we have a symphony. All those things are really what make a community, and that was some of the things that we were selling people on.
Fox City Stadium opened in 1995. It was built with no tax dollars, though the Convention and Visitors Bureau bought the land with funds from a hotel-motel tax. Attendance nearly tripled in the park's first year. Combined with a name and logo change that sent sales of merchandise soaring, Appleton's team had new life.
We list them as an attraction in our publications where we list things to do when you're in the area. The Timber Rattlers come up very high on our list of options, opportunities. I think it's safe to say that easily it has an economic impact of $25 million.
From one minor league team? To understand how that can be, you have to understand economics. Come back, we'll make it interesting.
If you build it, you will hire. Construction creates plenty of well-paying, though temporary, jobs. The team itself hires, from a few to 20 or more full-time front office jobs, and dozens of part-timers on game days. Add in 30 or so players and coaches. These folks rent local apartments, buy from local merchants, and spend money that might not be spent in the community if there were no team. Visiting teams, documentary producers, and others in town for a game buy lodging, meals, and gasoline. All these purchases give merchants more cash to spend on their own purchases. With more business, they have to buy more of whatever they sell. They hire more employees who have their own spending to do. Economists say that a dollar spent at or because of a ball game multiplies as it makes its way through the marketplace.
The economic impact of even Major League Baseball teams is roughly equal to that of a large department store like Nordstrom's or Macy's. The economic impact of the minor league teams is roughly equal to the economic impact of a large chain of pet stores. It just isn't there.
Minor league baseball is a very, it's very much a small business operation. It is not going to be an economic engine unless the stadium itself is part of a larger comprehensive community development plan.
Whatever its direct economic effect, a team can provide indirect benefits.
And we consider Burlington Bees baseball as an important
aspect of our economic development program because it keeps us in front of the nation, and it's sort of separates a lot of cities our size from other cities that don't have professional baseball.
It's especially, I think, important on the employee retention side more so than the recruitment side. We're in an economy of a labor shortage. To retain them, you have to have a number of cultural and recreational pursuits in the community.
The casual fan expects the amenities a new park provides, and so do the major league clubs that provide the talent. A lot of factors go into a good relationship between the major and minor league partners. Geographic closeness cuts the cost of sending players back and forth.
What do you guys do down in the bullpen during a game, anyway?
We had a fire down here last night, actually.
A what?
Mosquitoes have been horrible. So we brought some gas out, a little cup of gas, and Roque started a fire by an accident over here. We had flames like this high in like a 3-foot circle. I don't think anybody saw it, not that anyone comes to our games.
The big leagues like their prospects to play for large crowds. The bigger the crowds, the better they do. Top-notch playing and training facilities allow prospects to develop more quickly and avoid injuries.
I pronounce that they are husband and wife together.
The major and minor league partners get hitched through a player development contract. Some alliances have lasted more than 30 years. But that's not always the case. Burlington, now with the White Sox, lost 4 other affiliations in the 1990s.
Colonels fans, as you are well aware, the election on the local option tax issue is this coming Tuesday, the 23rd. If for some reason you're unable to vote on Tuesday, you still have a chance to cast an absentee ballot.
Carol Martin at a lot. Your reaction to the baseball park?
I think it's probably a great facility, but to build a brand new one and charge the people who never use it, no, I would not advocate it.
Right now, it appears that the vote is against the local option sales tax in Lynn County.
Is the future of minor league baseball in Cedar Rapids in jeopardy more so than it was 24 hours ago?
Yes, I would say it is. I don't say that as a threat, but it's a reality.
My team was starting down the road some of its Midwest League brothers had already traveled. As Cedar Rapids would keep doing, those towns put up a fight.
We went to the city and asked for help, and they told us quite believably, sorry folks, we're struggling to keep the street lights lit, and the firemen paid. Firemen saved my child. City council saved my baseball game. It's not a hard choice. What I think Waterloo really lost was national visibility. From April to August, every year in sports papers around the country, there we were, coast to coast. We were one of 154 teams. You know, that's not a lot. Any of these postseason games, I can turn them on and see a player who played here. All that's gone. That touch with greatness. But there's only so much a bunch of guys with paint buckets can do.
Nobody got on our side to bring the stadium up to standard. It was an attitude of, well, it's a nice park. We don't really see any need to improve it. The team was in debt. And I think a lot of the owners thought, well, here's a way to recoup our investment and make some money on top of it.
The last night, the place was rocking. You know, it's kind of a celebration of what had been, and kind of a tribute to something that could never be in America. And that's a city the size of Wausau playing host to a major league farm club, because the economics of the game had changed to such a large degree that we were no longer a part of the map. It's changed the community to a large degree. You know, it's kind of taken a little bit out of the heart of the community. It's not quite the same as it used to be.
We lost something because we don't have anything pulling us together like that recreationally anymore.
The first board meeting I attended, the owners were talking about pitching and batting averages, and who should be pitching and who should be batting where. And I said, correct me if I'm wrong, but do you have anything to say about that? These were people who loved the game, yet you got to market baseball.
Wausau's attendance in 1990, its final season, equals 9 days' worth of games in the team's new home, Kane County, Illinois, also home to affluent Chicago suburbs.
We market directly at mom. We want the families, okay? I think that's something that in the past baseball's forgotten about. They're so geared from a pricing structure at the corporate business. Well, we want the corporate business, but we want the families first.
The Cougars are one of the haves, big money teams that are even invading the backyards of major league clubs. In 1999, the Cougars drew more than 450,000 fans. As edge cities like those in Kane County have grown, they've ceased to be merely bedroom communities for a central city. They seek identities of their own. Part of that identity means having a sports team.
We have people that understand baseball as more than a business and appreciate it being part of their community and are willing to help us in ways that maybe other people don't have that advantage. When we got ready to do the dugouts over here, Johnny Johnson picked up the phone and says, "I'm sending my crane over, tell me what day we're setting cement."
Those volunteers included a player from Burlington's past. In 1977, fresh from college, Paul Molitor helped the Bees to their most recent Midwest League title. The next season, he began a 21-year big league career. Molitor returned in 1995 for a ball club fundraiser. He was promised a fee, but did it for free and threw in some money of his own.
There's been several institutions, people, individuals, leagues, places I've been that have influenced who I've turned out to be. And the fact that I've been able to reap some benefits from the various experiences and places I've stopped along the way, it's made a lot of sense to try to give back in those particular areas. And it's as simple as that.
In Cedar Rapids in September '98, the drive for a new ballpark took on new urgency. The Anaheim Angels said, build a new stadium or get the official okay for one within 2 years, or we might not stick around. Will I lose my team? If the Angels leave, maybe we can go independent. With the resurgence of the minors, leagues sprang up or returned. In 1993, the revived Northern League helped start the independent movement, maverick leagues outside affiliated baseball. Unlike the affiliateds, who rely on big league partners for players, indie teams scout, sign, and pay their talent.
I think independent teams have a greater sense of bonding with their communities. It's not a matter of rent a player for a few months until the major league team decides to send him up, as is often the case in the, with the affiliated teams.
In 1999, the independent Texas-Louisiana League brought pro baseball back to the Springfield, Missouri area after an absence of nearly half a century.
Ladies and gentlemen, your 1999 Ozark Mountain Ducks.
So where do you put a new ballpark? Now we're talking politics. Many cities view a stadium as a centerpiece of economic development. The Ozark Mountain Ducks chose an undeveloped area in the town of Ozark. A property development company donated the land. The park's creation spurred the building of roads and water and sewer systems to serve it. The hope is that such infrastructure will speed development on surrounding property, also owned by the folks who donated the ballpark land. The idea? If you build it, they will come. And they will build too, and shop, and live. If you build it, some may leave. Nearby residents have complained about traffic and noise from their new neighbor, though the team says it's tried to deal with those concerns. The Gold Eyes of Winnipeg, Canada and the Northern League put their park downtown to anchor the rejuvenation of the city's heart. The idea here, if you build it, they will come back. We don't have it built yet in Cedar Rapids, and the Colonel's future is far from certain. A trip to nearby Davenport, Iowa shows how uncertainty can hang over a team. My favorite ballpark, John O'Donnell Stadium, a Depression-era brick ball-yard on the banks of the Mississippi. In 1987, Rick Holtzman bought Davenport's team, now the Quad City River Bandits. 2 years later, the city of Davenport spent $4.5 million to renovate the stadium. Holtzman and Davenport officials began to quarrel over more improvements needed to bring John O'Donnell up to pro baseball's new requirements.
It evolves out of some promises that were made when the stadium was originally renovated. As with any municipal-owned facility, a lot of times those types of funds tend to get moved around in the budget and reallocated to greater places where there are greater needs. Because of that, the maintenance has not always been what the owner has expected. Because of that, he claims that the city has been in violation of its lease, which has allowed him to take rent money and put it into escrow accounts and that type of thing.
In 1997, Holtzman said he would sell the team. A buyer stepped forward, Iowa businessman Kevin Krause. Holtzman announced the deal in February '98, but then he said the deal was off, that Krause had missed deadlines, and that there never was a signed agreement. Krause says he had an agreement, and the proposed sale had already gone to and been approved by the Midwest League. The relationship between the city and Holtzman grew more poisoned.
We were never rude. We always had civil conversations. There was never any name calling. I wasn't going to let it degenerate to where it had gotten before. It's just that I told him, you're sending me mixed signals, and the council, for the most part, hates you.
Holtzman threatened to move the team. 2 local radio personalities struck back by collecting nearly 1,000 baseballs.
It's really a fan's idea as some sort of measure of protest, since they couldn't reach him by any other means, to have us cart baseballs with personalized messages and dump them on his front yard.
I think the public's perception is that a baseball team, whether it's a minor league one or a major league one, is sort of in the public domain. It's owned by everyone, and that that gives them greater say over what happens with the baseball stadium or where the team plays or what its name is. And, you know, the cold hard facts are that it doesn't. You know, we have leases. If you can't get what you want because you want to be successful as a business, then one of your options is to relocate.
Krause called a news conference to confirm the sale in August '98, hoping the snags would be worked out at the last minute. Instead,
it could be tied up in the court for, months, if not years. We don't really know what the future of baseball in Davenport is.
the River Bandits stayed for a while. In 2001, flooding forced them from their park. Kevin Krause and the city never agreed on renovations to meet the major's new standards. It's reported that Krause has sold the team. If true, it will probably leave for Ohio.
Baseball just transcends economic levels, social status, you know, religious differences, even language differences. You know, it transcends all those things. The more artistic endeavors tend to be limited to certain people of a certain status, and baseball's for everybody.
Enough conflict. Let's see how a team can bring unity and a better image to a community. Laredo, Texas and Nuevo Laredo, Mexico, dual homes of Los Tecolotes de los Dos Laredos, the Owls of the Two Laredos, a Mexican League team that plays home games on both sides of the U.S.-Mexico border. The Tecos came to Nuevo in their current form in 1976, but did not play in neighboring Laredo until '85. The city of Laredo pays them $6,400 for each home game there. Opposition popped up in both countries. At first, some Mexican fans complained that the Tecos belonged to Mexico and should stay there. Some Americans resented that Laredo paid so much money for so few fans. The arrangement has been tested by a clash in styles between the Laredo administrators and the former owners across the Rio Grande. The Laredo folks pushed for promotion and an effort to build a relationship with fans. The Mexican owners balked at this. Baseball was one way that young men from an isolated region saw the world, or at least Mexico City and Corpus Christi. It was, and is, a way for the area to link itself to the rest of Mexico and to get the attention of the rest of America.
The publicity, the recognition that this city has gotten because of that cannot be totaled in dollars and cents. Further up north, you know, some of them that still feel there's cowboys and Indians down here, they say, wow, you've got a team that plays on, you know, on one side of the river and a team that plays on the other side too, and it's the same team? How'd you do that?
I love that Laredo's known for something besides drug smuggling.
There is already a close working relationship when it comes to, you know, politics, when it comes to business, when it comes to family interchange. And now the Tecolotes are the latest addition to that. Another reason, another factor in bringing these two cities together.
As in other places we've been, the biggest threat to this team is poor attendance. As in other places, there has been talk about a new ballpark in Nuevo Laredo. Still is. Former owners threatened to sell the team, which could have meant a move. There are hopes that the new owner will bring stability and new ideas, like promotion.
People are realizing it's a business as well, and if they want to make money, if they want to keep the team in town, they need to do something.
Doing something in Cedar Rapids means treating baseball as a business.
I'm calling to ask if you would be willing to meet with me so that I could gather some information from you about your marketing needs and wants.
The shakeup in the Bush Leagues forced teams to find new ways to cut costs and raise revenue.
Your group salesperson selling the picnics needs to be trained in selling the picnics.
I'm going to show you how this tennis ball and this hula hoop is going to raise, can make you $1,500 a night.
The El Paso Seminars, a yearly gathering of minor league executives, a place to swap business tips. Naming rights to a stadium sell for millions of dollars. But where will it end?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Preparation H Park.
You know, a lot of people think that spring training is just for the players. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Come on, let's go, let's go!
Minor league teams have become masters of publicity. You see things down here that you just don't see in the big time.
Atta baby!
Isla Borders became the first woman to win a men's pro baseball game. Pitcher Ken Crayenbull was traded by the Pacific Suns to Greenville, Mississippi for cash, a player to be named later, and 10 pounds of catfish. In his first start for his new team, Crayenbull threw a perfect game.
You guys just got traded to California. You're on your way to California.
One of the most controversial promotions of recent years was tried in Charleston, South Carolina, Vasectomy Night. A free snipping was to be given away on Father's Day weekend. But after complaints that the idea mocked fatherhood, plans for Vasectomy Night were cut short.
There's a mathematical relationship. The worse a promotion is, the more coverage you're almost guaranteed. A few years ago in Fort Myers, I did a seance to reach the unsung hero of night baseball, Thomas Edison. That was a lot of fun. And I stood at the gate as people went out, and all they said was, "Boy, is this a stupid promotion," and then they laughed.
Sometimes they have bad promotions, like they'll have Jerry Garcia night, and they'll want you to dress up in a tie-dye shirt and make us look like a bunch of clowns. It makes the fans look at us and say, this is a joke. I mean, I can't believe this is an actual job they do.
Well, I think the players, first of all, are so happy to be playing in front of a crowd. You know, every night we draw a full house, so the players are happy about that, and the promotions don't bother them a bit. I kind of thought at first it would bother me a little bit, kind of take away from the game, but it's really become a very festive event.
And mascots. By my estimate, there are 153 team mascots in the minor leagues. The good news, there aren't 154. They are an affront to all that is sacred about baseball. Purists don't need no stinking mascots. Harassing a mascot is a misdemeanor. Never mind how I know. Fact is, though, there are not enough of us purists to fill the stands. Clubs need the more casual fan, who comes out for the whole entertainment experience. The county fair, with baseball in there somewhere.
Baseball is this wonderful, intricate, if you want it to be, nuance-filled game. Entertainment is Michael Jackson opening at Lake Tahoe.
But Mike Veck is co-owner of one of the wildest entertainment spectacles in minor league baseball, the St. Paul Saints of the Northern League. The Saints sell out their home games, played nearly in the shadow of the Minnesota Twins Big League Stadium.
We did a promotion where we gave out 2,500 whoopee cushions, and we had everybody stand up all at once and sat down with the big, we call it the Big Bang.
Probably 1,000 people out of the 6,000 who come here every night are really interested in what's going on in the ball field. The other 5,000, you could probably change the team in the third inning and they wouldn't notice. But they're having a good time anyway.
What works in St. Paul might not work elsewhere. Bill Fanning says the crowd here is eclectic, very white-collar professional. They get the irony in the T-shirt quote from F. Scott Fitzgerald. Fanning says the shirt is one of the team's best sellers. I like the Saints, but the style will not soon come to rural outposts of the Midwest League. We're too conservative. If at first you don't succeed, lobby the Iowa legislature to establish a fund to invest in recreation and tourism, and then seek some of those funds. Step one worked. The state set up a community attraction and tourism fund, one way it's trying to reverse the state's brain drain. In step two, Cedar Rapids applied for $7 million, roughly half the cost of the new ballpark. In September '99, the Colonels got an answer. The good news? They will receive $3.2 million spread over 2 years. The bad news? That's less than half the amount they sought. The good old, bad old vet will have to last at least one more year. In July 2000, the Anaheim Angels, who had threatened to leave Cedar Rapids if a new park weren't here or on the way by then, signed up for another 2 years. In August, ballpark supporters proposed a levy increase.
Not everything in life works out, and it's not always about what you accomplish in life that is who you are or how you're associated with, but how you recover from the things that don't work out in your life that set you apart. I was kind of excited about the idea of being faced with another challenge. Now I'm going to have to figure out who I am. Now I'm going to have to figure out what else I'm going to do in life.
Despite promotion to a higher league, Russ Kohler never fully got healthy. He and Heather have created a new baseball fan and gone back to school. Russ studies public relations and works at a video production company. He says his release came as a relief. No more surgeries, no more pain. But a year later, the emotional wound is still fresh.
So what kind of food do you like the best? The Mariners were more than patient with me. They gave me ample opportunity to recover, and they invested time, energy, money, everything else into me in making the game work. And it just came to a point where a business decision had to be made. This is a business. This is no longer a game.
In the sink or swim world of small-town pro ball, those like Burlington that learned to swim have found the waters calmer for now. Burlington will have a team through 2007, as long as it meets the standards of the agreement with the majors. When it expires, what then?
First base dugout on their feet. 2-2 from Gitter. Swinging and missing, the Bees have won the Midwest League title.
Burlington, one of the smallest markets to have a full season team. Burlington, the town that 4 major league teams chose to leave in the 90s. Burlington, the champ. I asked people in the business, will the Burlington Bees and other small-town teams be around in 10 years? The most optimistic answer, maybe.
93% of the vote is in, 10,118 in favor, 6,862 against. Party time!
The Colonels are more than halfway toward the funding needed for a new park and have plans to raise private and foundation funds and to sell the naming rights. Purists value the charm and quaintness of an old-time park. If it has a soul, purists feel it. But this purist is also a realist. If teams must evolve to survive, let's evolve. They'll build it, and I'll come. The new place will have a tarp to pull. I've made my peace with it. Really.
For more information about the new ball game, visit our website at www.itvs.org.
Funding for the new ball game was provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the Iowa Arts Council, the National Endowment for the Humanities, and its state partners, the Texas Council for the Humanities, the Illinois Humanities Council, the Wisconsin Humanities Council, and Humanities Iowa.